This time around on Author's Corner, we're taking you to Georgia. Boy, I had a great conversation with this woman off the air. Julie Rogers has written a book, a children's book called Colten and the Bullfrog Adventure. I mean, first of all, bullfrogs, and I think of frogs and my own childhood in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and the frogs croaking in the backyard. So immediately I knew I was going to like her, and this book is so clever. Julie, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
So let's talk about what made you decide you were going to write a children's book, because so many people have these ideas of writing a book, a children's book, a novel, or whatever, but they never do it. What inspired you to begin writing a children's book?
Well, I retired from teaching, and I've always felt that I wanted to write a book, but it took me nearly 6 years to decide to sit down and write one. But my grandchildren got behind me and wanted me to do it, so I pushed forward and decided to go ahead with it.
You know, it's interesting. You and I talked about one of your grandchildren, Colten, and he helped you with the book. That probably was motivating, but what was that like, do you think, through his eyes and being with him and doing this?
He was really excited about it, and he pushed me. He was really excited, and he pushed me onward. He was excited about studying the frog and wanting to know what frogs do. And when he found out I was going to really do this, he got behind me and kept making sure that I was on task. So he was really the one that was old enough to know what was going on. The others were excited, and when we started making funny sounds, they were really excited.
Yeah, we should explain to everyone. I think that's the interesting thing. And I bet there's people out there, I mentioned the croaking of the frogs, and it really is unique, isn't it? Because there's a lot of different sounds that frogs make. And I told you there's so many different kinds of frogs. It's amazing when you start to look into this. But I can only imagine what that was like, having him learn those sounds. Was one of your in-laws and perhaps your own child ready to strangle you for teaching him that?
They were all ready to strangle all of us. The kids were running around the house, making the frog sounds that we were making. They were excited about it. And they had learned something new, and they were sharing all the time for a few weeks there.
Oh, I bet that's so funny. So what did you and I talked about this too. What did you find out about frogs that was so interesting? Is it the sounds that they make?
Well, not only the sounds that they make, but we found out about their mating habits, the tadpoles. That was interesting. Mm-hmm. We found out about where they live and when they hunt. There were just a lot of things that we didn't know that were interesting.
Yeah, so it's not face value. You see a frog, but you don't realize it's like anything that we think of, right? And you were a teacher in our mind. So what's the deal with frogs? And there's much more to that than meets the eye, right?
Yes. Yes, wow. There's a lot more.
Uh-huh. I love that. And again, we're speaking with Julie Rogers. She's written a book called Colten and the Bullfrog Adventure. Some of you can relate that are grandparents out there, others with kids. And this is a children's book. Who did the illustrations for your book? They're beautiful.
I can't tell you right now.
But that's okay, because the reason I brought it up is because they did such a great job. And on the cover of the book, it's Joshua Allen who did the illustrations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. Joshua did a great job, because you see in the back there's a flashlight, and you can see the back of a man, a little boy, and then the light, and you see the frog with big eyes and the light shining on the frog. So is that a pond that's related to you? Do you have a pond near your house?
Well, actually, I have a small fish pond in my backyard. And we pretended. Our imagination worked overtime, and we pretended that was a pond in our backyard.
Oh, I love it. So tell us about writing the meat of the book. What is if I asked you, which I am asking you now, hey, we know it's about frogs. Tell us a little bit more. What is the book really about? What's the lesson in the book?
I feel like the lesson in the book is about respect. At that age, children today do not understand respect. They don't understand respect a lot of times for animals and a lot of times for adults. Elderly people are just my age. I'm not an elder. But they don't understand respect for people and for pets. And this is something that they need to learn. And that's what I felt like they would get from this story, is how to respect their grandparents and pets and also just wild animals. They need to learn this. And that's what Colten was doing. He was learning to respect frogs, to listen and respect frogs, and to respect his grandpa who's out there with him and teaching him about wild animals.
Yeah. Wow. And for your husband and putting the book together and saying you were going to do it, I would imagine in some ways, was he kind of speechless when it all came together? It's a beautiful looking book.
Yes, I think he was speechless. I think that he really wasn't sure whether I would do it. And then I think he was not sure that I would publish it. So he was actually, I think he was excited when I got that far.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it is published. You can get it on Amazon.com. That's one of the many places. Colten and the Bullfrog Adventure. And we're speaking with Julie Rogers about frogs, really, and about being with her grandson and then actually putting this together. So, this is one grandchild. There's others that are going to want, and your children. Does everybody want a piece of this? And you're going to have to do books with everyone?
Well, they all say that I am. And I've gone as far as 2, so I guess I'm going to have to go to 4.
Oh, I love it. Oh, what a great way to spend time with your grandchildren. There's no question about it. Julie, thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
All right, so it was so interesting to talk about frogs. And you heard Julie, to me, because that's what, growing up, I can remember as soon as the summer hit, boom, hearing frogs and just the various noises. And that's what Julie, when we talked and you heard there, that's what she said for a while, how the kids were running around and they were croaking like frogs. And so here on the Author's Corner, I just wanted to say this, that I looked this up, that, there are 6,000 species of frogs. 6,000. Can you imagine that? And of course, a frog, if you look up the definition of a frog, it's a member of a diverse and largely carnivorous group. This is what the definition is: of short-bodied, tailless amphibians composing of the order Anura. Isn't that wild? I had no idea. But here's the other cool part about this, is that if you look at the origins of it, they go all the way back. They tie all the way back to 265 million years ago. And this is another thing Julie and I were talking about. In your backyard, you see different frogs and you try to identify what kind of frogs they are. And I've been at a lot of different places where they have frogs from all over the place. They have the South American horned frog, which is beautiful looking. And then I think one of the most beautiful frogs that I've ever seen is a poison dart frog, and it's bluish. And it's this gorgeous little frog. And I've seen them in a couple of different aquariums that I've been to, including the Dallas World Aquarium. So pretty cool, huh? Your imagination, the frogs. So Colten and the Bullfrog Adventure. Fun to hang out with Julie Rogers here on the Author's Corner. You can pick her book up again at Amazon.com.